All right, everybody, hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Be another one of our 100,000 followers on Facebook. Sports Hound starts right now.
Let's go! This ain't the Fox Night! Or this game can he stink!
Oh, shit!
It's gone!
All right, everybody, it's Monday night. This is the Sports Hounds exclusively on a2dradio.com. Brad Ryer, Rob Brinkman with you. Frank Vesby behind the scenes. Jimmy and Evan be along shortly. Huge shout out to you, the fan. A2D Radio has hit 100,000 followers on Facebook. We do this for you. We appreciate all the love and support. Brad, I look down, starts to get cold out. We started together in February of 2015. We bounced around a little bit, and we've been here for, 17, 22, almost 7 years now.
Yep.
On A2D Radio, and we couldn't be happier. We appreciate all the love and support. 100,000 followers. Let's get to 200,000. Can't do that without hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, turning those notifications on, checking us out wherever we stream live, always on Facebook, always on Twitter, Twitch, Periscope, Instagram, and YouTube. If you miss us, don't worry about it. You can download us wherever you get your podcast. Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all those big boys. Be a part of the next 100,000 if you weren't part of the first 100,000. Not a big deal. It's never ending. Sports is never ending. Sports Hounds is never ending. A2D Radio is never ending. So, as always, we are brought to you by ARIA Public Adjusting. There's the phone number, 813-564-3364. Tell them the Sports Hound sent you. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. You have property damage, don't fight your homeowner's insurance alone. Contact ARIA Public Adjusting for help. They can help you. We got a lot to dive into tonight. No Eagles, no Giants, no Cowboys. A little quiet in the NFC East, but we're going to get to all the football. We got a Monday night game. We'll react to Week 9. We'll break down the playoff pictures. We're about halfway through the regular season. We'll do early leans looking at next week. But we're going to start with some baseball. Baseball's kind of cool because there's not that lag period between the hot stove and the end of the World Series. Obviously, people here in Philadelphia a little salty, a little disappointed. Phillies fall in 6 games to the Houston Astros. Brad, you predicted. Doug Mankiewicz predicted. You hit it right on the money. I picked the Phillies in 6. Houston was really good, Brad.
I know.
Really good.
Their pitching is just dynamite. I know everybody is taking shots at the Phillies how they stopped hitting. They didn't stop hitting. Houston just has an unbelievable pitching staff. I mean, that's really all there is to it. It doesn't really. I mean, you guys have a terrific lineup. We had a terrific lineup. We couldn't hit them. They have 3 incredibly good pitchers on their team right now. And they're very hard to hit. It's just all there is to it.
Just to put in perspective how deep the Houston Astros pitching staff is, Brad, the Houston Astros, they had a pitcher by the name of Ryan Stanek in their bullpen. Mm-hmm. Ryan Stanek set the Astros record as a reliever with a 1.15 ERA. He was relegated to mop-up duty in the postseason. They couldn't use him.
He was a key member of the Tampa Bay Rays 2 years ago in the bubble. I mean, that team, just their whole pitching staff, and we're talking about starters and relievers, are just dynamite. Really, the only pitcher that was really bad in the playoffs for them was McCullers.
Yeah, he got hit around by your Yankees, my Phillies, and
he got hit around by the Mariners too. They just, Houston is also the other aspect of Houston is that they can hit too. I mean, they lose Gurriel, no problem. Mancini comes in. It's just like it never seems to end with that team.
let's get to our poll question relating to the Philadelphia Phillies. Obviously, Rob Thompson, darling of the city for much of the season. He takes over for Joe Girardi. The team was a disaster. They turn it around. They reach the World Series. Some questionable decisions towards the back end of that World Series are our poll question of the night. Has your confidence wavered in Rob Thompson after the World Series lost? Chime in the comments. Hashtag agree. Hashtag disagree. We will get to all of your comments here throughout the program. Our poll question brought to you by Creative Window Design Center, serving New York, PA, New Jersey, and Florida. We are fully authorized. Hunter Douglas dealer. Contact Jeff at 609-226-0391. Your consultation will be free if you tell them A2D Radio, Rob and Brad from the Sports Hounds sent you. So, Brad, Rob Thompson, he was the bench coach for Joe Girardi for many, many years in New York. You're very familiar with him. What do you think of the poll? I mean, should Phillies fans be worried that Rob Thompson kind of resorted back to binder managing in Game 6?
He screwed up.
He did.
He screwed up. Plain and simple. You hit a batter and then you give up a ground ball single. You're overreacting a little bit. Now, as far as Alvarez was due to get a big hit. I mean, he's a great hitter. Whether or not Wheeler would have been able to get him out, we'll never know. All I can say, and I'm going to say the same thing I said about when Boone took out Cole and brought in Mitchell. Not Mitchell, I'm sorry. He brought in Clark Schmidt. When Cash took out Blake Snell, I can't remember who he brought in. But when Cash took out Blake Snell in the World Series against the Dodgers a couple of years ago, why are you taking pitchers out when they've only thrown 70, 80, 90 pitches? These guys all season are throwing 100 to 110 pitches every game. Okay? These guys are not going to pitch again. It's not like Wheeler was going to come out and give you a couple of innings in Game 7 if they won Game 6. What was the point of doing that? I don't get it. If you're going to lose with your best pitcher. For God's sakes, what are you doing? Alvarado hasn't been all that great in the playoffs. And he was good. He was good in the first 2 series, but the Astros seemed to have him figured out. And listen, the Astros against left-handed pitching all season's been really good. With all respect to Ranger Suarez, who pitched an absolute gem against them for 5 innings, he got the job done. But Alvarado is not nearly as good a pitcher as Zach Wheeler, or is he as good as Ranger Suarez? I mean, I didn't get that, but you know what? My manager did the same thing. Now, my manager, I'm a little more angry at because he repeats the same stupid things every year. Okay, and he's got more than enough talent to have done something by now with that team. As far as Thompson's concerned, listen, Thompson got those guys playing for him to the point where they were literally ready to run through a wall for him. So, and they weren't ready to do that with Girardi. So, at this point, I would think that keeping him is a no-brainer at this point.
Well, he is going to be here, Brad. He signed a 2. They took the interim tag off of him before the
playoffs,
and they gave him a 2-year deal.
I would say I would definitely have faith in him, but I would also say that there are a couple of moves the Phillies should try to make to try to improve the team. They have the same problem the Yankees do. They too many guys trying to hit home runs all the time instead of trying to go to the opposite field and beat the shift.
And Brad, that's the main reason I think they lost. Look, they trounced the Atlanta Braves, who are a very good baseball team. defending champs, NL East champs. They chased down the Mets to race a 10.5 game lead, something we don't really see that often because the Mets were a good team too. Let's give them credit. Like the Mets had a lot of good players too, and
They
Buck
didn't
Showalter did a
exactly. The
great
Mets
job.
didn't exactly fall apart either. They played 600 ball. The Braves had played 750 ball,
which is impossible. So they trounced the Braves. They trounced the Braves because they got 2 out hits and they were able to produce runs without hitting the home run. They were able to beat the Padres by getting hits that didn't produce home runs. You got to put pressure on the defense, and they put absolutely zero pressure on the Houston Astros, especially in the final 3 games of the World Series. You've reverted back. I don't understand for the life of me their approach against Framber Valdez. They sat on his breaking ball, which they couldn't hit. No one can. He's an excellent pitcher. And then they stared at every fastball right down the center.
Look, when you're here, I don't understand.
But if you're
that
facing
either.
an ace, Brad, doesn't it make sense to sit on their 99-mile-an-hour heat?
You
That's why they
always-
hit Verlander so well.
You're supposed to sit on the fastball. That's what everybody does. You have to be dead red against pitchers like that. Now, listen, I don't want to take anything away from Valdez. Valdez is really, really a good pitcher. I mean, really, nobody in the American League could touch him this year. He was that good. But if the guy has a great fastball, if he gets a good curveball over the plate, you tip your hat and grab some bench, but don't get beat on his fastball.
Especially looking. Oh,
yeah.
Peeves me when anyone. If I were a manager of a major league team, $500 fine. You strike out looking on a fastball in the zone, you have $500 fine. You put it in the kitty, and I don't know, maybe you have a party for the team at the end of the year, or give it to a charity or something like that. $500 fine. And the Phillies, I mean, they had 71 strikeouts in the World Series. That was a record. Another reason they lost. But I bet you half of them were looking. I mean, holy smokes. And then they're walking back to the bench, 2 strikes, fastball, right over the plate. It's like, what are you hitting? What are you looking for? What are you sitting on? I didn't get it.
The whole thing just it seemed like because they hit 5 home runs in Game 3, they just got home run happy and started swinging for the fences. And you can't do that against Houston. Not those pitchers. You're not gonna. I mean, McCullers. Okay, you had one game that you hit a ton of home runs against McCullers, and that's great. And you were able to steal Game 1, but they shouldn't have changed their approach. These guys all got carried away with it. I mean, they got to a point where it got so in their heads that you have a guy like Schwarber trying to bunt with 2 strikes. I mean,
that was a joke.
I didn't. When he did that, I'm sitting there. I'm saying, did he forget what the count? I get him trying to bunt. I do, because you know what? If he gets a good solid bunt down the third baseline, it could dribble into the outfield and get a double. I get that, but you can't do it with 2 strikes.
And then
that's like a if it's 1-1, okay, then you try doing it. But with 2 strikes, I mean, he's not a guy that bunts that much. Does he even know how?
Based on his attempt in the 8th inning there, no.
Yeah, I can't sit there and tell you that I know the Phillies well enough to know who's a good bunter on that team and who can't lay one down. But unless he was practicing that in batting practice a lot, it's hard to do that unless you've really practiced a lot in batting practice. And to try to do it in a game against premium pitchers, that's hard to do.
And then, we spoke with Doug Mankiewicz last week. It was last week, right?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Right.
Previewing all the baseball and what were the happenings. And he said where teams get in trouble is they overextend their bullpen and they bring their high leverage guys in too early. Obviously, Rob Thompson did not listen to that interview. He should stream it, download it, wherever you get your podcast, because that's exactly what Rob Thompson did. He had way too quick of a hook on starters, and he brought in Alvarado and Sir Anthony and there are Phillies high leverage out guys too early. And
too often.
And too often. That's another reason that
Houston, by the time games 5 and 6 rolled around, Houston had seen him 3-4 times already.
And then all these relievers, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Mariano Rivera, Jose Alvarado, or a guy you just called up from the minor leagues. If it's in the middle of August, like you put these guys in with runners on, everybody gets worse. There's more pressure.
Yeah,
you got to go from the
do.
stretch and not the wind up. You're not starting a clean inning. And that's the position that Alvarado and Sir Anthony and our high leverage guys were put in more often than not. So, I mean, has my confidence wavered in Rob Thompson? No. I think he's a great manager for this city. I think he's a great manager for this group. I just can't believe he pulled Wheeler like that. 70 pitches. I mean, at a certain point, Brad, you got to dance with the girl you brung. And
that's my point. That's my point about the Snell thing a few years ago. Cole against the Astros on that Saturday afternoon game, and you guys with Game 6. Wheeler is your ace. You can't take him out after 70 pitches.
$125 million, and it's not like, because there was questions about Wheeler because they gave him the extra day rest. Is he hurt? Is he fatigued? What's going to happen? He's not hurt, which is good because now he doesn't have to rehab during the offseason. He can work on his strength and conditioning and try and get himself ready to go for spring training and next season. But his velocity was right where it was, as healthiest point of the season, 98, 99, even touching 100. He wasn't in the 93, 94, 95 range like he was in his previous start. So he wasn't hurt. If he's not hurt and he feels good, I mean, you're paying him $125 million to get Yordan Alvarez out in that spot. And and it's not like he got in trouble by getting smoked, right? He hit a batter
and a ground ball base hit. I don't care how hard a ground ball is hit. If it's on the ground, okay, there's always a good chance that it can get fielded by the defense, okay. And it got through. I mean, it could have just as easily gone right to the shortstop or going right to the second baseman or the third baseman. It didn't, but that's not a reason to take a guy out of the game. I mean, if you're smoking doubles off the wall and one hop balls off the wall, for those kind of hits, that's another story. But he was pretty darn effective. He was doing a nice job keeping that Houston lineup at bay. I just don't know why you would do that. And obviously a home run there, and it completely takes the heart out of the Phillies. I mean, how couldn't it? I mean, nobody can take that. That's a tough
punch.
Yeah, I mean that's tough to go up against. And then you got Houston, who's got such a deep bullpen, and they just put themselves in a really bad predicament.
Let's get to some comments here. Obviously, there's some strong opinions about the Phillies, their World Series run, the disappointment, anger, however you may be feeling. Just let it out in the comments. That's what we're here for. Our comments tonight brought to you by eXp Realty, Mr. Alan Foy. Looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a changing career at brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty, 302-682-8820. Alan.Foy at exprealty.com. That's his email address, website, all that good stuff right there. Comments.
Let us talk you guys down from the ledge.
Look, I can't be mad. At least in my opinion.
You could be disappointed, but
I'm very disappointed because if you're going to get there, you might as well win, right?
Right.
And it was a great run. I mean, Bryce had one of the better postseasons we've seen in recent memory. He had a bunch of I think he had 5 game-winning home runs, 4 game-winning home runs. He hit well over 300. You go down to St. Louis and you sweep them out all on the road. You beat the best team in the National League, the Atlanta Braves, in really dominating fashion. I mean, the Braves didn't really stand up. We smoked the Braves.
You kicked their
rear ends,
all the way back to Atlanta.
Yeah. And then you advance to the World Series, another 5-game gentleman's sweep against a really good team in the San Diego Padres. You just ran into a buzzsaw that was the Houston Astros, and they're really good. So, mad's not really the world. I'm disappointed that they lost, and that's okay. But, just let it out in the comments. Tell us how you're feeling. Tell us what you think about Rob Thompson, Zach Wheeler. where this team goes from here, the hot stove, it's already buzzing. Already news to report. We're going to get to that next. But Ted, he's checking us out on YouTube. I was talking to someone the other day. He made a great point. Houston's title counts in 2017, and Barry Bonds should be allowed in the Hall of Fame. I think me and Brad are in pretty much lockstep with Barry Bonds being in the Hall of Fame. They did announce the contemporary players ballot, whatever that is. Barry Bonds is one of 13 names on that, so he's still got an avenue to get in. Roger Clemens also on that ballot as well, so we'll see how that plays out for Mr. Bonds. But, I mean, that's a good point. The double standard that baseball holds to holding some cheaters accountable and other cheaters not.
And letting some cheaters into the Hall of Fame and some cheaters not.
Greg Miller's in the house. Thomas Arnone. Thomas Arnone hasn't wavered yet. Let's see if he makes the same mistakes again. And, yeah, we got an old school show tonight. Old school hounds, me and Brad, holding down the fort on Monday night like we've been doing for freaking almost a decade here at A2D Radio. It's been a lot of fun, and we certainly appreciate all the support from you people, from the fans. 100,000 followers, 100,000 more to go. Let's get to 1 million. Let's get to 1 million followers on Facebook and other avenues of social media and streaming and podcasts and different things like that. Jason McCowan's in the house. Bryce Blackwell, Bryce, he's an OG too. He's certainly a big part of what we do here. He's a great fan. He listens a lot. Always knowledgeable. He hasn't wavered in Rob Thompson.
You should.
He says Rob will grow and get better. I hope so. This is his first managerial job in a bunch of years in baseball, so I don't know. Maybe the moment got to him and he panicked and he pulled his ace way too early when he was doing good.
The general manager. Remember Doug happened to mention a few things about general managers. Plotting the game before it starts, and maybe the script said they only want him throwing 70 pitches. Well, I mean, we don't that kind of stuff we don't know, but apparently it's pretty prevalent. I mean, he wouldn't be making stuff like that up. He would know. The guy was a minor league manager.
Amanda Stevenson, hey guys, what are your thoughts about the game on Saturday and what you think could have gone better? What do you think of Bryce Harper's injury? Do you think he might have surgery? The game Saturday sucked. They lost. They're out of the World Series, so that part of it sucked. The bats went quiet, and Rob Thompson made questionable managerial decisions. So that's Saturday. Now, Bryce is supposed to have an MRI this week per A2D social media. Again, you got to hit that like, hit that subscribe, get all the latest moves on the entire sports world, not just Philly sports. And they're going to see if it's healed, if he can just rehab it, and hopefully play the field next year, or he's going to need surgery. Hopefully he doesn't need surgery because that would be the UCL.
That would probably mean he'd be out till probably around May.
That's the TJ. That's the TJ ligament. That's the Tommy John ligament. The UCL. Yeah. People in Buffalo holding their breath about Josh Allen's UCL today. He had a rough day yesterday against the Jets.
Yeah, I think they said he hurt. I thought he hurt it in the fourth quarter, but then they're saying that he hurt it in the second quarter.
Well, he was getting knocked around pretty good, so that could have happened at any time.
Yeah, I know.
Jake Friel. What's up, boys? I disagree with the poll. We're going to get more pieces this offseason, and I see us making another deep run next year. Look, the core is here in Philadelphia. Now, they're going to do things, and they're going to tweak things here and there, and they have some decisions to make on some guys. But Bryce is here. Schwarber's here. Bohm's here. JT's here. Nola's here. Wheeler's here. Sir Anthony's here. So
you got a nice core. You got a nice core.
The core 10 guys are going to be here. Bryce Blackwell. Hopefully we can get Trey Turner. I would love to get Trey Turner.
Let me tell you something, and you're probably guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I have a little take about that. Okay,
go for it.
If the Yankees re-sign Aaron Judge, you will get Trey Turner.
Right.
Because and this is just my opinion, and you can say I'm being a homer or whatever. I don't care. That's fine. My opinion is that the Yankees cannot sign Aaron Judge. They will turn around and try full force to bring in Trey Turner because they're going to want to get somebody, and he would probably be the best bet. He could play. They could put him at second base, or they could put him at shortstop. They've got a couple of real good infielders in their minor league system, and Trey Gleyber Torres and get themselves another outfielder. But I think that's what's going to happen. So if the Yankees do sign Aaron Judge, I think that they would be your chief competition for Trey Turner, and they'd be out.
And it's not just Trey Turner at the shortstop position.
No, you put him at second.
Wherever. That's why you signed Trey Turner.
If I'm the Phillies, it makes so much sense to put him at second. Rob, you got Segura there, right? And isn't this
Segura has a $17 million club option next year. There's no way in hell the Phillies are picking that up. They're not going to pay their 8-hitter, 7-hitter $17 million next year. And Gene Segura did take to Instagram, social media, either today or yesterday, kind of doing a goodbye kind of post, like thanks Philly, like it's been real kind of a thing. So he's probably going to be somewhere else.
It's $1 million. It's $1 million buyout. So I mean, it's a no-brainer. But the Phillies probably won't let him go until they know for sure who they're going to put at second base.
Well, because Brad, the 4 best free agents in this class, I skimmed it earlier, so if I missed someone, I apologize. Edwin Diaz was on that list as well. Chris Bassett has opted out of his contract in New York as well. But Edwin Diaz, he gets the 5-year, $100 million contract as a reliever, which is just suicide. I don't agree with that move at all. But they can do whatever up there in New York. They're still going to choke in September like they always do. So it's Dansby Swanson, it's Carlos Correa. Xander Bogaerts is going to hit the open market. He's at least opted out and going to test the
real good hitter, Xander Bogaerts.
Test the free agent market out of Boston, and Trey Turner, obviously. So that's Swanson, Correa, Turner, Bogaerts. Now, I would like to sign Trey Turner, because he can hit leadoff. But like I could put Trey Turner in left field, I can put Trey Turner in center field, and I could put Trey Turner at second base or shortstop. So his versatility, along with his ability to hit leadoff, plus him and Bryce Harper are good buddies from their time in Washington.
He can also fly, Rob. He's
very
steal
fast.
a lot
He's
of bases.
Steal bases. He's going to put pressure on the defense, which I don't think this edition of the Phillies team, even though they got to the World Series and it was a lot of fun and it was a great run, they didn't put enough consistent pressure on defenses. Trey Turner puts constant pressure on defenses. And I think Trey Turner, along with Carlos Correa, they're both mortal locks to be on new teams next year. Doug Benkiewicz told us last week, Carlos Correa, he likes playing in October. And let's be real about it. He's probably not going to do that playing with the Minnesota Twins. Or it's going to be an uphill battle at least. And Trey Turner's been on record saying he wants to play. He'll play anywhere, but he would prefer to play on the East Coast. So those guys, Boston, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what their formula is. I thought they traded Mookie Betts a couple years ago so they could re-sign Devers, Bogaerts, and have that infield core for the next couple of years. But it looks like they might lose Bogaerts. But
they're going to lose Eovaldi too. He's going to be gone.
So Boston, they got some major work to do, but you could move Stott to second if you sign Correa or Bogaerts or Trey Turner. Dansby Swanson would.
That's probably the move.
And Boston kind of covered themselves by signing Trevor Story, surprise signing. So like if they do lose Xander Bogaerts, they're just going to move Trevor Story to the shortstop position.
Yeah,
but. I mean,
Trey Turner number one. They'd be a lot better with both of them on the set with Bogaerts and
I mean, but like then it gets to the point where so you have too many strikeouts in this lineup. You have a non-traditional lineup, right? You have Schwarber at leadoff, Hoskins hitting second, JT, Bryce, Castellanos, Bohm down on the line. It's too many strikeouts. To me, I look at this team. You have 3 people on this team that I'm going to name right now, and you can only keep 2 of them. If you want to, I don't want to say shake it up, blow it up, but tweak this thing into a lineup that can put more pressure on major league pitchers and major league defenses. You have Rhys Hoskins, you have Nick Castellanos, and you have Alec Bohm. You can keep 2 of them. One of them's got to go. One of them has to go.
Here's the problem with Castellanos, Rob. He's making too much money.
He's not going anywhere. You're locked in.
Yeah, you're kind of stuck with him, but it's not like he's not going to hurt you. He's a good hitter. He may not have had a terrific year this year, but he's not old. It's not like he can't bounce back and have a better year next year. So I wouldn't necessarily give up on him. I think Hoskins is a guy you could move.
That's the out because Bohm's not going anywhere either.
No, he's young and he's not making a lot of money, and he's a good hitter. What is he, a 280, 290 hitter?
Yeah, and his defense.
And he's a good defensive third base, at least from what I saw.
He turned into one. He made some early in the season. He was dreadful, and he got better throughout the season. He worked at it, and he's got some power.
That's what happens with young players. Young players get better the more they play. He made some great plays in the World Series.
So that brings me to Rhys. 248 hitter. He hit over 30 home runs. He hit 5 home runs in the postseason. He's a butcher, for the most part, a butcher at first base. So that means you're going to trade Hoskins. Schwarber can play first. Castellanos can DH. Harper, hopefully, in right field. Center field looks like you're going to have a little bit of a platoon, and then you need a left fielder.
Outfielders are a dime a dozen.
Which I think you can get. First off, I think, Sosa can play left field. Vierling can play left field. Nick Maton, who wasn't on the playoff rosters, I think he's a scrappy little bench guy that you can put in a platoon for left field. So
you could always find an outfielder. Outfield is the easiest position when it comes to free agency in the offseason. Outfield is the easiest position to fill. There's plenty of them to choose from. And, if you have a veteran, smart GM like you do with Dave Dombrowski, he'll check the field and he'll make the right decision.
Like, I know this is going to be a little unpopular because he's a little bit of a goofball, but Tommy Pham's a free agent. He can field. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He's a good athlete. He's fast. You trade Rhys. You sign Tommy Pham to play left field, and you get some strikeouts out of your lineup. You still have an immense amount of power with Harper, Castellanos, Bohm, Schwarber, JT. Those guys aren't going anywhere. So maybe that. I guess my main point being here is Trey Turner is going to cost a lot of money. Carlos Correa is going to cost a lot.
They're both going to cost $30 million. I think that's probably a given.
And I do need a bullpen piece, maybe 2, and I do need a 4th or 5th starter. If you track the minor leagues at all, the Phillies have a hot shot prospect named Andrew Painter. Not only, Brad, was he the Phillies minor league pitcher of the year, he was the Major League Baseball minor league pitcher of the year. He's a strikeout machine.
You got a real
He's a
opportunity.
He's a 6'8" righty. He has nothing left to prove in the minor league. So I'm going to have, in my ideal world, I'm going to have Nolan Wheeler. Suarez has proved he's a major league pitcher. Like, he's your 3 guy. Then you have Painter in there. And then, I don't know, maybe you bring Thor back or something like that to be the 5th guy. Gibson will be gone. Eflin opted out of his $15 million option, which baffles me. It's a lot of money to turn down.
He's crazy.
A relatively average pitcher.
He's okay, but is he really gonna make more than 15 mil?
He found a real niche there as a long man after his injury.
Yeah, but
so I don't know what he's looking to get, but I mean, $15 million for one season to be
for him,
the long
man. That's a lot
on a good bullpen on a good team, I should say. Yeah, that's crazy. Hand is old. Robertson's old. We'll see how that plays out. Hand's going to be a free agent. I think Robertson's a free agent too. I think that was a 1-year
Yeah.
deal. He signed in
it
Chicago,
is.
then he traded for him. So, there's work. There's a little bit of work to be done, but I think that the core is here for this team to have sustained success. And the time's now. Like, all these guys are signed $100 million deals, and the payroll's up. You're over the luxury tax. All these guys are in their prime. So the time is now to pounce and try and get at least one championship out of this core.
Well, if you trade Rhys Hoskins, Rob, there's no reason why you can't get a quality return. There are a lot of teams that need power. Okay, the Phillies are loaded with power. One less power bat is not going to kill them. Okay, so if you're going to trade him, there's no reason why you can't at least get a number 3 pitcher for him. I mean, I can't see anything less than that. You should be able to get that, and that really would help you guys. You don't have to get an ace and spend $30-40 million a year on an ace at this point.
There's Pete Evans. Check him out. Birds of a Feather. I think that's tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9-ish. Anyway, just turn the notifications on. You don't need me to tell you. If you have the notifications, you just get a ding every time a show goes live, and you tune in, you comment, you hit that like, hit that subscribe, and go. Be one of our 100,000 followers. He disagrees with the poll. He has to learn from his mistakes. That's the key, is learning from the mistakes. Ryan Swoop. If I'm a pitcher going forward, I'm telling your manager straightforward ahead of time. Each inning, if I'm pitching well but make a mistake, you're not pulling me. Blake Snell, Black Wheeler, analytics move. I will make him really think he will be challenged. No analytics move. Yeah, Zach Wheeler didn't seem too happy to be coming out of that baseball game.
Well, do you blame him?
No, I would be pissed.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes these guys, this ridiculousness of, we can't face the same pitcher 3 times. Well, you know what? Yeah, you can if it's an ace pitcher who has real good stuff. What's going to happen the third time? That didn't happen the first or second time. If they're not on your fastball and they can't hit your fastball the first 2 times, what makes you think that they're going to hit your fastball the third time?
Yeah,
unless you're throwing 100 pitches.
We talk about it every NFL postseason when division foes match up in the playoffs and one team swept the other, and everybody chimes in the chat. Oh, well, you can't beat a team 3 times. It's impossible. Like, they already beat them twice. What do you mean? Why can't they beat them a third time?
Yeah, they absolutely can beat them a third time, and history backs that up. But anyway, we digress.
Matt Spillane, Wheeler's your best pitcher. Wheeler's your best pitcher. He was going full throttle. He knew this was it. He was throwing gas, and silly Rob pulled a Girardi. I mean, it may never be able to forgive him. Wheels broke about 10 bats. He did break a lot of bats, now that you mention it, which is the kind of mark that
he was
dealing.
He was matching Framber Valdez pitch for pitch. I mean, when he left with a 1-0 lead. It just, I don't know. I think that they were trying to win 1-0. The Phillies. I really
never going to happen against the Astros.
No, the Astros are going to find a way to score. I mean, you're not going to. You just, especially in that building, you're not going to.
But you know why, Brad? Because they swing the bat. They do everything right. They put pressure on the defense, and they hurt you.
Yeah, they didn't. And you know what? They were missing Brantley. Just think if they had him. He's another left-handed hitter who sprays the ball all over the place and has occasional power. I mean, that's what makes them so tough. They have injuries and they can bring guys in. I heard that the third baseman broke his finger. So that's going to be a for Houston.
Yeah, Bregman.
Bregman, yeah, he broke his finger on that slide in the 8th inning. So that's going to be a bit of an issue for him recovering this off season, but he should be fine for spring training, you would think.
Don 19's in the house, live from Detroit. But the Lions with a big win on Sunday. Yeah, all these NFC North teams, they're getting their revenge on Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah,
Aaron Rodgers beating the brains off them for the past decade, 15 years, whatever it's been.
Yep, he's
Packers are horrid.
Yeah, the Packers.
Aaron Rodgers is
the Packers are going straight into the toilet this year.
The only person I'm happy for is Dusty. Like, okay, sure. Doesn't do anything for me, but if you want to be happy for him, a salute. John Smith, go Birds. They've run it to 8-0 on Thursday night. Another double-digit victory.
It's gonna be 9-0 too, because their next game is against the Commanders.
Monday night in South Philadelphia.
In Philly.
Don't see it being a problem.
No.
And I think they have the Colts. I think they have the Colts after that. And talk about a dreadful team. Colts stink.
10-0.
10-0. And
then, you never know. The Colts did wake up and were able to knock off Kansas City. So I suppose any given Sunday, but the way the Eagles play, it just the type of game they play, they're kind of built to not get upset too often.
And then they Colts make waves today. The inventor of offense, at least according to some here in Philadelphia, Mr. Frank Reich, finally meets his demise. He was fired.
Out of here.
Fired this morning, and then they bring in Jeff Saturday out of the TV studio of ESPN to be their interim coach. They're just not getting it. The Colts aren't. They're not getting it. And
they have wasted a lot of talent the last few years.
They have. And I don't think Irsay ever forgave. I don't think Irsay ever forgave Frank for standing up on the table and pounding his fist for Carson Wentz. I think they only did that move because Frank Reich said he's good and he can fix him and it's going to be fine. It wasn't fine, and Frank Reich finally gets fired.
Yeah.
David Roska.
Taylor Heineke is now the quarterback in Washington.
Well, Carson's hurt, surprise, surprise, but I don't think Carson starts another game there.
Yeah.
Well, he's good. I mean, they won 3 straight, and then they lose to the Vikings, who are a very good football team.
Everybody makes fun of Heineke. I kind of like him. I think he just has the it factor going for him. He's not great, but
right.
He's another one of these quarterbacks. He's like a Garoppolo type. He finds a way to beat you and to score. I mean, there's something to be said about that.
It's just funny because Carson has all the talent in the world and absolutely negative a billion it factor, and then Heineke short on talent but has loads of it factor.
Yeah.
Here's the dumbest comment of the night. Bryce Harper should be traded in this offseason. On what grounds? On what grounds? For what? I mean, yeah, they didn't win. If you want to put that on Bryce, you're an idiot. The guy mashed the ball over the fence.
One player cannot win in baseball. This isn't basketball, okay? So it can't. That's not going to happen.
Greg Miller, he wants the Phillies to bolster their bullpen like in 2008. They had 2 dominant setup men, Madsen and J.C. Romero, dominant closer, and Brad Litch that didn't blow a save the whole season.
That's hard to do, though.
I hear you. And you got your 2 setup men. Well, I don't know about Alvarado because Alvarado really – he finished the postseason with a 6 ERA. I mean, that's higher than my bar tab was most of these playoff games at the bar watching him. So, yeah, he was good and he got you there, but is he the dominant – Ryan Madsen, J.C. Romero setup man? I don't think so.
Well,
he's not as bad as he was when he got sent down. But
keep in mind, Rob, it's also not so easy to have that role in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is not an easy place to pitch. Okay, it's not an easy place to play. You have to have thick skin, and you have to be a real man to play here. It's that simple. That's the other factor. So it's not that easy to just pluck some guy out of free agency and bring him here. It doesn't always work that way. Hopefully you might have a couple of guys in the minors who throw 98 miles an hour who you can bring in for an inning and blow people away.
Yeah, they have a starter who's ready, who's going to be a starter and Painter.
Yeah, but there are guys you may not know about,
True.
and I may not know about that they know about that might be ready to come in and give you an inning or two.
And they have the other guy too that's a good starter. At least he's a starter in the minors, but he's probably a couple years away from being major league ready. Name escapes me. Someone will chime in on the chat. It's Painter and was it? It'll come to me. John Coyle, down on the Ocean City Boardwalk, proud sponsor of the Ramp Booth every Sunday morning with our Jimmy Rodweller. That's all campus between 10th and 11th Street on the Ocean City Boardwalk. Become an A2D member.
Get down there this weekend. I'll tell you what, you're going to get it's going to be another warm weekend. It might rain Friday afternoon, but it's supposed to be pretty warm again next weekend. It's going to cool off now, but it's supposed to be warm next weekend. Get down there and go visit John and pick up some merchandise. They'll give you 20% off.
And you get 20% off for being an A2D member. Become an A2D member. Follow the link in our bio. You get 20% off in off campus. You get special shows, merchandise giveaways, and you get the gambling picks from the Money Pop podcast. And one Willie Vegas. Xander Bogaerts would look excellent in this lineup. I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I think you just Xander Bogaerts looks good in anyone's lineup. You just put him at short. You move Stott over the second, and you go.
And presto, you have a 300 hitter who's hard to strike out and will drive in a lot of runs. He may not hit a lot of home runs, but he'll give you between 15 and 20, and he'll hit over 300 for you.
Yeah, John Coyle. Eflin wants to be a starter. Just won't be in Philly. I don't know. Maybe they can work something out where you can be the fifth starter. And you have Painter
not for $15 million, though.
And then you got Eflin and Painter, hopefully at the back end with Suarez, Wheeler, and Nola, which is a good trio.
What about bringing back Syndergaard in the bullpen?
He might be the fifth starter. I don't know. I'm not opposed to having Noah Syndergaard on this baseball team next year. Kyle Gibson, he won't be here. He's going to be a free agent. I don't think he'll be back.
I think Syndergaard is going to be better next year.
2 months.
Don't you think so?
He wasn't bad for us.
No, but don't forget, he's just removed from Tommy John surgery. So,
he needs to figure out how to pitch, which I think he started to do.
Yeah.
When you can't throw, the 100-mile-an-hour fastball that he had in New York pre-injury. Julian C., he wants to trade Rhys Hoskins to the Indians. They have pitching. Yeah, the Indians are pretty much the blueprint for small market teams and developing talent. So anyone they have to give, I would feel confident that they would be able to come in and contribute on a loaded division here in the East with the Braves and the Mets.
Or Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay even has more pitching.
And
and they could use
power.
They could use a hitter. They could really use a first baseman. Use a first baseman.
Anyone in the chat or anyone out there listening that, I wouldn't hold your breath on Rhys Hoskins not being here. He's pretty good. Look, baseball's a dollar cost average sport. You got to look at the whole body of work. And Rhys Hoskins has a lot of pop. He sees a lot of pitches. And he's a good player. He is. He's a good player. And he's a team leader, and he really likes Philadelphia. He's proven he can handle the Northeast corridor here, which not everyone can do. We talk about it all the time. So I wouldn't hold your breath at Rhys Hoskins being gone. I think it's really the only logical piece of this core you can realistically move and get something for, where you can, as I said many times throughout this broadcast, put more pressure on the opposition. The best teams, all the champions, look at the champions from the past 5 years. They put pressure on teams.
Yeah. They don't strike out. They don't strike out 5 million times.
Suburban Survival, check us on YouTube. I like Brogdon as a relief pitcher. Yeah, Brogdon pitched really well. really well this postseason, and he can absolutely be in the bullpen next year. I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
I think you found a closer in Dominguez, but for whatever reason they were bringing him in early innings, and I don't get that, but whatever. Analytics, but
Nick J, do you think Trey Turner will end up with the Phillies?
he might. See what happens with the Dodgers.
Do you
first.
sign one Trey Turner, or do you sign like 3 guys that equal Trey Turner's salary that makes your team better on the whole? I'm not sitting here saying that Trey Turner's not going to make it better. He's going to make whoever he signs with better. He's a stud, but he's going to be expensive. 17 mils coming off the books with Segura with what would you say, a $1 million buyout?
Yep.
So he'll be gone. I don't think that they'll bring him back. Mr. Wing, end of the day, no one expected the Phillies to get to the World Series, but then they got there. Their flaws were exposed. Untimely hitting, flawed defense, unreliable pitching.
Oh, their pitching wasn't bad. I think you guys are being a little rough on their pitching. Their pitching was pretty good. They just didn't hit. They couldn't hit it. They couldn't hit that Astro pitching staff. That was the problem.
Yeah, Nola stunk in the World Series.
Nola wasn't good. Nola wasn't good, but the rest of the guys were good.
But it was Game 4, I think, after the rainout, where Nola he let up some runs early, but he was settling in, and then they took him out in the 5th. I didn't like that move either. I thought that was a quick hook on Nola. Now, like, I get it in the moment, you're taking him out with, like a lesser amount of pitches in the hopes that, maybe he can start on 3 days rest, or you can use him out of the bullpen or something like that. But
yeah, but you know what? You got to win. You got to win the game he's pitching. You got to worry about the game he's pitching. If things work out, if things work out, great. But you know what? You got to worry about the game you're playing. You can't worry about Game 5. You can't worry about Game 6 and Game 7. You've got to win Game 5, and so on and so forth.
All right, I want to talk to you about this contemporary list of 13 names. Our Hall of Fame debates are some of our best here on the Sports Hounds. Our Hall of Fame talk is brought to you by Gleason's Bar and Grill, 6700 Mill Creek Road, right up in my neck of the woods in Bucks County, Levittown, Pennsylvania. Promo code A2D. Get you 10% off. Dine in, take out, online, don't matter. Gleason'sBarnSteaks.com. Best cheesesteak in Bucks County. Super delicious. So go check them out. So Clemens is on the list. Bonds is on the list. We're not even going to talk about them. We both think that Bonds and Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame. It sounds like early rumblings is that Clemens is going to get in based on the Twitter buzz I'm looking. But, Brad, 2 guys I wanted to bring up are Fred McGriff and Dale Murphy. I think they should both be Hall of Famers. Again, based on some of the guys that have gotten in.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Look, if you're going to put in Harold Baines, okay, how do you not put in Fred McGriff? Fred McGriff was I mean, are you really not going to put him in the Hall of Fame because he hit 493 home runs instead of 500? I mean, really?
Fred McGriff, I have it right here. He had a career 493 home runs, excuse me, 284 batting average, a career 377 on base, slugged 509. His OPS was just under 900 with 889.
He was an outstanding, dominant player.
5-time All-Star, 3-time Silver Slugger, All-Star Game MVP, and a 1995 World Series champion. So individual accolades, I guess you could say, a touch lacking. But the one thing I like to look at is the 162-game average. So his 162-game average was 89 runs scored, 32 bombs, 102 RBIs, and a 284 average, 377 on base, 509 slugging.
What's his WAR? Do they have that?
50, just under 53, 52.
I mean, come on, you gotta. He's again
just under 2,500.
Again, you're gonna put in Harold Baines and Tim Raines. and you're not going to put in Fred McGriff.
Yeah, sorry. And then the
Or
other
Craig-
one that I think,
Or you putting Craig Biggio or Bagwell, those two guys over him? Come on.
well, Bags was a stud. He's a Hall of Famer.
Right, but so is McGriff.
Understood.
You know.
Bagwell just had a little more because I think Bagwell won an MVP in '95, if I'm not mistaken. Don't have his reference page in front of me, but I believe he did win the '95 MVP, and he was a perennial Gold Glover.
And there were also a lot of suspicions about him doing roids too. So
I don't care about that.
No, I'm just saying, but that's an excuse for a lot of these guys.
But then they put Ortiz in,
right?
Guy who never played the field in his life, and
they put Piazza in, and there's a lot of question about him whether he was doing roids too. So.
And Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer. He would have gotten my vote. Ortiz.
He would have gotten my vote too. I mean,
Ortiz would have gotten my vote. I just don't.
Catchers that hit 360 should be it.
I just don't think Ortiz should have been the first ballot. But then I always say that either you're Hall of Famer or you're not, and I don't really put too much stock in the first ballot stuff. And then the other guy is Dale Murphy, who I hope gets in. Dale Murphy, 5-time Gold Glover, 2-time MVP, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger Award.
Yeah, Dale Murphy was a dominant player.
I mean, his career stats aren't as good as Fred McGriff's. He's just under 400 home runs, only hit 265. I say only. Really good average.
You know what? Problem with him is he hung around a little too long. He was kind of, after he was out of his prime, he really kind of dipped. But in his prime, he put up some terrific numbers.
So, yeah, from 78 to 90, he was really good. And he came to the Phillies in 91 and had a resurgence. He was able to hit 18 home runs, 81 RBIs on the 91 Phils. But Fred McGriff, after Mike, remember, I pounded the table for Mike Messina for years until they let him in. And Fred McGriff's kind of my guy now. He should absolutely.
I always liked Fred McGriff. He never had an attitude out there. He played the game the right way. I always liked that guy. He was also foolishly traded by the Yankees when he was a minor leaguer. I don't remember who he was traded for, but they, as always, traded their young players for a while there, and they were
Steinbrenner 101 right there.
Yeah, Steinbrenner before he became the darling of New York, traded every good kid they ever had. He traded him and Draybeck and Tewksbury, Jay Buhner.
Yeah.
The list could go. I could name a bunch more, but we don't have time for all that.
Judge, Brad, anything scuttlebutt on Judge you can let the fans in on being
the only
Yankees
thing
fan?
I heard, it was, and this was on Twitter, was that the Yankees were looking at giving him 9 years and around $360 million. They don't want to give him 10 years. So if he's, I think that's a more than fair contract. I mean, if he wants more than that, I don't know if the Yankees are going to go more than that. They might. I mean, they have about $80 million coming.
Who would you say are the Yankees' chief competition for signing Judge? Sounds like the Giants really want him.
Giants, Dodgers, and Mets.
I think maybe the Cardinals could be a sleeper team in the Judge sweepstakes.
You think they're going to spend $40 million though? Either Judge stays in New York with the Yankees or the Mets, or he's going to go out to California.
The Cubs look like they want to spend some money too.
Yeah, well, I'll see when they spend $40 million on a player. I'll believe it.
That's just the hot stove rumors. Is that the Cubs?
Yeah, they've been a historically cheap organization. Don't forget now, Anthony Rizzo is a free agent, and Benintendi is a free agent. I think the Yankees want to keep those three guys. That's what it sounds like.
Let's get some Monday Night Football. Brought to you by FanUp, the best way to enjoy daily fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Promo code A2D, 5,000 free bonus points. That's a $50 value. FanUp, download the app. Get that promo code. Get that $50 free. No salary caps like on some of the other big boys. You can pick whoever you want. Then you pick your captain to differentiate your lineup. Your captain gets 1.5 times the stats he puts up. So, Brad, we got a Monday night football game here tonight. Ravens-Saints interconference matchup getting ready to kick off here in the Caesars Sportsbook Superdome. I guess that's what they're calling it now. Aikman and Buck on the call. Saints.
Unless you want to listen to the Manning brothers on the next channel.
Not a bad broadcast.
They're actually pretty funny.
Well, Peyton's a character, and then Peyton's linked to the head coaching job in Indianapolis.
That could happen.
It's Twitter bullshit, but there's some. And Irsay's a crazy man. So who knows what he's going to do?
Yeah. The question is, does Peyton really want to do that? Because
if I'm Peyton, I don't want to be a head coach at all. I want to sit on the TV with my brother and continue my relationship with ESPN. He does a lot of original content with ESPN Plus, and I'm sure he's not going broke doing that stuff without having the headaches of being a head coach.
And having to. I mean, being a head coach means you have no free time to ever do anything.
There you go. Rattle off your predictions in the chat. When we did early leans last week, I believe this line was 3.5. Saints being home dogs. It's been bet down to 1.5. Ravens 1.5 point road favorites in the Superdome. Look, I don't really have a strong opinion either way on this football game. I don't think either of these teams are that great. I think the under would be my play of the night here. I think it's 46.5. So I like the under there if you're getting your last-minute bets in. Andy Dalton's been woeful in prime time throughout his career, even when he was in his prime. Kind of the Kirk Cousins stigma. Can't really win the big game. So, I mean, I like the Ravens here. And maybe that's a little bit of a homer pick because I want the Saints to lose because the Eagles have their first-round draft pick. And they were able to beat the Raiders last week, which propelled that pick out of the top 10. I do need a big game out of Devin Duvernay in fantasy football. He's the Ravens'
premier. He's going to be the number one target tonight, that's for sure.
And Mark Andrews out. Gus Edwards also out, who's been kind of their bell cow since returning. He's got a hamstring. He's not going to play. They got Justice Hill and Kenyon Drake out there. I don't know. I think the Ravens are a good enough football team to nail this one down on the road.
I agree, and I think they'll cover. I don't necessarily agree with you about the Ravens not being a good team. I think they're a very good team, but tonight without two key offensive components in their lineup, I think.
And Rashard Bateman, he's on IR as well. He's got
I think that's going to keep it close. I like the Ravens by around a touchdown tonight. I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 21-17. The under is a really good bet, by the way, Rob. I fully agree with that. If it's 46.5, that's way too many points.
Matt Spillane Irsay is out of his damn mind. Crazy ain't the word. He's a little bit of a loose cannon there in Indianapolis. And Frank Reich, I mean, he's not crazy for firing Frank Reich. I think he's had that coming for about a year and a half now. Seems like their offense falls apart when they can't give the ball to Jonathan Taylor 50 times a game. He's been hurt. So
yeah.
So that's our Monday night preview. A little quiet in the NFL yesterday in terms of the NFC East. Eagles played Thursday. They got the win. Giants off, Cowboys off, and the Commanders lose to the Minnesota Vikings. I think the story.
Commanders should have won that. Commanders blew that game. They should have won that game.
Well, they're just not a good football team.
No, I know.
They've been playing better with Heineke.
They had that game and they let it get away.
But point being, the Vikings won, and they're a really good football team. And I don't think
they're 7-1. So
I don't think they're getting the credit they deserve on the national spotlight. Their only loss is a road loss in Philadelphia, and we all know how good the Eagles are, playing excellent football the entire year. They get smacked up in Philadelphia. That's their only loss. Certainly no shame in that. And
no, not at all. I think that part of it is that when they win, they've been playing down to their competition, and I think a lot of people seem to have a problem with that. Now they have a chance if Josh Allen plays next week, which we don't know yet, depending on what's going on with his elbow. They have a chance if Josh Allen plays and he's physically fit to play that game. Minnesota can make a statement if they can somehow win in Buffalo.
Yeah, I believe that game is in Buffalo, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Buffalo at home has just been out of worldly. But
and
we'll see. If they don't have Josh Allen playing, they're screwed. I just don't.
And then
I don't see how they can have. Minnesota should be able to go in there and win if Allen's not playing.
And the story in the AFC, I feel, is the Jets. Jets get a big win at home. They kicked the crap out of Josh Allen yesterday. I don't know if Josh Allen was hurt earlier than they said he got hurt, but Josh Allen was downright dreadful yesterday in the Meadowlands.
What I heard, he got hurt in the middle of the second quarter, and before he got hurt, the Bills were actually ahead 14-3 in that game.
But Robert Saleh, he's earning his keep by developing this defense. This Jets defense is really good. They hit a grand slam in the first round of the draft with Sauce Gardner.
Oh yeah, he's. I'll tell you what, he's already a shutdown corner, and he's a rookie.
So I mean, you look at the AFC playoff picture right now. You got a bunch of heavyweights in there that, for the most part, we all expected to be there, and then the Jets. And I don't really think the Jets are going anywhere. I really don't. I mean,
well, you look at some of their wins, Rob. They just destroyed Miami. Now, I understand Tua wasn't playing, but they still put 40 points up against them.
So I don't think the Jets are going anywhere. They lose Breece Hall, which is devastating. He was playing really well. They go out
and they bring in Robinson.
And Michael Carter had a great game yesterday. Their rookie out of Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, certainly looks the part. So they had 2 first-round picks last year, Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner, total home runs. Their line's held up. Wilson's been okay. I don't think, especially if Allen is injured, like that's going to bring the Bills back to the pack. If Allen misses an extended period of time, I got news for you. The Dolphins are going to be a very, 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 very high seed in the AFC playoffs because they don't lose football games when Tua plays. They're really good too.
Absolutely.
And they have Tyreek Hill. I mean, people want to make fun of them for only beating the Bears by 3, but I mean, don't look now, but all my Justin Fields takes about how good I think he's going to be in this league are looking a lot better. He's really starting to figure it out. Really starting to figure it out.
Did you see the apology for him going around now with Fields? I found that pretty amusing.
Yeah, what did it say?
People saying that he wasn't good. You've seen those apology forms. I apologize for saying that he's not good. He can't run. He can't. All the stupidity that always seems to come out.
He's an electric athlete.
Yeah, listen, it's tough to be a rookie quarterback in the NFL.
He has more arm talent than Lamar Jackson. He's not as good of an athlete, but it's close. But I mean,
he's got a strong arm.
And you remember what I said? I said the Jets and the Niners were going to rue the day they took Zach Wilson and Trey Lance over Justin Fields out of Ohio State. And Justin Fields is making me look smart. The Bears are not a pushover football team with Justin Fields the way he's playing right now. They can run the ball.
They're not.
They're going to let up points because they traded their defense, which is disappointing. Because I think second place in the North is really wide open. If you finish second in your division, you're going to be in the top 7 mix at least within a few games, playing competitive football in December. But, we play I think it's week 15. The Eagles go to Chicago, and, everyone kind of looked at that as a pushover game, but that's not going to be a pushover game with Justin Fields is the way he's playing. That's another
but you know what
Steeler.
he faces? He faces that defense. That defense is a little bit different than any other defense he's played against this year. So
I hear you, but like I talked about with the baseball, Justin Fields puts a lot of pressure on NFL defenses.
absolutely, I don't disagree with you. He's really come on this year.
They put up 30 on the Cowboys. They have a really good defense. He put up 32 on Miami yesterday. They're a really good football team. They have a really good defense. So
He struggles against
Justin
the
Fields
Giants.
is coming along. And you had a bunch of teams on bye this week. The Niners had a bye. The Giants had a bye. And don't look now, Brad, but I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to win the West.
Yeah, I'm not surprised about that. After watching them beat the Giants, and then they basically in the fourth quarter kind of dismantled the Cardinals.
Cardinals stink.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm just saying Seattle is looking awfully good. Geno Smith, it took him a long time, but you know what? Geno Smith has finally figured it out. Maybe it's the coach. It could be Carroll. Just knowing how to use it.
He's bought into the rah-rah coaching style of Pete Carroll that, kind of lost their way with some of the veterans that he had. And if you look at their team, like, they're all rookies or second-year guys that are playing great.
And he's got terrific receivers.
Metcalf, Lockett. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
Now,
I know they are.
loaded
You know what? And Smith, one thing Smith does do really well is he runs the ball. And he can do damage with his legs. And he's always had a strong arm. He's never had the kind of receivers he has in Seattle. That team is really playing very well now.
Like, not only do I think they're going to win the NFC West, and the Niners, they had a bye week this week, and they're going to have Shanahan's going to have a week to, draw up some plays for CMC, and they have Kittle and Deebo Samuel, and all Jimmy Garoppolo does is win games. But, this Seattle team is for real. Like, they could win a game or two in this NFC playoff. Like,
I agree with you.
I could easily see Seattle going into Minnesota. I just talked about how good I thought Minnesota was, but I could easily see the Seattle Seahawks walking into Dallas or Minnesota and winning a playoff game.
Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, they're going to have at least if they win the division, they're going to host in Seattle, which is notoriously a loud stadium, tough place to play. This team's for real. I think they're better than the Niners. I do right now. We'll see how the Niners look after the bye.
The only thing I would say about that is that Christian McCaffrey, if he's healthy, is a difference maker. If Kittle stays healthy, he's a difference maker. The same would go for Samuel. So they got some guys who can put points on the board for them. So that's going to make them tough, and they've got a really good defense. And they got the kind of defense that can play. And see, the one team that I think has a shot against Philadelphia would be the Niners, because the way they play, it really doesn't matter where they play. They play a grinding, physical style of football, which could probably match the physicality of the Eagles. I think the Eagles physically are just dominant over most of the NFL at this point in time, and it shows in their record. And if you're gonna play the Eagles, you better be able to play smash mouth football. And I think really the only team in the NFC, honestly, that can play that way and give the Eagles fits might be the 49ers.
Well, a team that's not going to give the Eagles fits is the Green Bay Packers.
No, they stink.
How did the Packers get so bad? I know they lost Devontae Adams, but really what happened to Rodgers? They're just a bad football team.
No, Rodgers also is not a young guy anymore.
And then Aaron Jones leaves the game yesterday with an ankle sprain. We'll see what happens with that. There are two rookies, Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, left the football game yesterday. And one of their premier defensive linemen, Rashawn Gary, he tore his ACL. So when it rains and pours, and it's
ACL.
Yes.
Ooh. That's a big loss.
So he's out.
No, he's done. He's done for this season.
So yeah, Rodgers, and then their tight end Tunyon is missing in action. They're just a bad team. They're just a bad team. So are the Rams, for that matter. The Rams are a bad team.
Although the Bucks got a little help from the referees yesterday at the end.
Well, that's never going to be a surprise with Tom Brady.
Yeah, but they found a
I was going to go 5-0. I was going to go freaking 5-0 with my bets, and I just needed the Rams +3. So I pushed. So I went 4-0-1. But fuck that. I wanted to go 5-0.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
But yeah, the Packers and the Rams, they're out.
They're done. You could stick a fork in both of them.
Because the Rams are going to finish third in the West, whether you think Seattle's going to win the West or San Francisco's going to come out after the bye and win the West. Both those teams are way better than the Rams. And then you're fighting teams like the Giants. I don't think the Giants are going to have an epic collapse and fall off. I think they're just
good enough to win. I think the Giants are good enough to win 11 games, to be honest with you. You look at their schedule. And there are a lot of winnable games for them. They have the Commanders twice. They have the Texans coming out this week out of the bye. They have the Lions. Those are four games that they should win, and they get to play the Colts. That's another team they should be able to beat. So there's your 5 wins. They'll lose 2 to Philly, and they'll lose to Dallas. So 5. I can see 5
that's
and 3.
Going to be their problem. They're just not talented enough that when they play a team with a really good quarterback or a really good roster.
No, not yet.
Not yet. But
not yet. They're not ready. They're not ready for that. But you know what? They can definitely win those 5 games, though. I'm not saying they will because it's still the Giants, and there's always something inherently wrong with the Giants. But they have a chance to win 5 more games, and if they get to 11 wins, they're going to be in the playoffs, Rob.
Matthew Walsh, do you think Geno Smith should be in consideration for Comeback Player of the Year award? I mean,
what's he coming back from? What's he?
He never really arrived.
He never. If you want to, if there's such an award as Most Improved Player, yes.
But they'll probably give it to. He'll probably get that Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. He definitely is in the running for something along those lines. I mean, he's really turned that team around.
And then Dabble's done a hell of a job this year. Can the Giants finish the season with 11 wins? We just sort of touched on that. Brad sees a path, and I agree with him. They're going to beat the teams they should beat, and they're going to lose the teams that they're supposed to lose to. They're like the Eagles last year. I think that's a perfect analogy.
I would agree. I mean,
and then
they're not good enough. They're not good enough to beat a team like the Eagles. And they're not
if you win 11 games, then you re-sign Jones, right? Have to.
Let's see how they do it, though. If Jones continues to play the way he's played, yes. Okay, but if they're winning it because their defense is winning the games, I don't know. I still gotta see more, and I really wish that the Giants would bring back Odell Beckham. I think that to have a decent receiver on the team, and a guy who could be a leader of the receivers on that team, I think it would really help some of those young players.
Giants didn't really bring in a.
They didn't do anything at the trade. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline. They didn't want to move their draft picks, which I can understand. But they have enough money to go out and sign a cheap free agent right now, and Odell Beckham seems to be the logical choice. He supposedly is going to be cleared to play at the end of the week, so you could see him by Thanksgiving wearing the blue and white.
I mean, that's the most logical landing spot for Odell Beckham right now, I think.
Yeah, I would think so.
Maybe Tampa jumps in there.
Possibly. I know his buddy. I know he and Landon Collins were buddies, and Landon Collins is back, so maybe you'll see Beckham too.
I'm just trying to think of who else. It's like he wants to play for a winner, and the Rams aren't winning.
No, but the Giants are winning this year.
They are.
So I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the thing, and he could, and he'll definitely, and he wants to be the man, and he would be the man there, no question about it. As far as receivers go, I mean, he's not going to be Barkley, but it would really help the Giants to get him because then the other teams would not be having 8 guys on the line of scrimmage all the time.
All right, let's get to early leans. Nothing in the football game. Ravens got a 3-and-out to start the football game. Lamar going to work here for the Ravens offense. Let's see what he does here. I'm waiting for that. Yep, there he goes. They stuck him. It's a good play by that guy. That's the Honey Badger.
There you go.
Good player. There's a flag. We'll see what that is. But, yeah, I'm waiting for – Lamar hit the ground running to start the season, literally and figuratively. And, we haven't really had that
There's
Lamar
a penalty against
breakout.
There's a penalty against the Saints.
Illegal use of hands on a defensive lineman. He must have got all up in that.
I'm sure they'll show the replay.
It's a little –
that's
a little weak because the lineman had his hands all up in Davenport's business too. But
yeah, that's a kind of a weak call.
All right, Brad, let's get into early leans. Are way too early. Week 10 preview of the NFL. This NFL season flying by. But it's funny how the season flies by when your teams are winning. Whereas
isn't it? It feels like they never end. It feels like it never ends when they're losing. That's for sure.
And the Sixers are playing right now, so now we can kind of turn our focus here in Philadelphia to some of the winter sports.
Is Mr. Embiid playing tonight?
Great question. James Harden is not. He strained his foot. He's going to be out a month. It's just, I don't know. It's only been 10 games. The Sixers are 4-6.
Look, the Sixers are going to make the playoffs. Relax. They're not going to miss the playoffs. Yeah, but you know what? If they get everybody healthy and they get their acts together by playoff time,
it's like
there's always a chance.
What's that Bill Murray movie, Groundhog Day, where he wakes up and it's the same gosh darn thing every season? That's what it's like being a Sixers fan. Early leans brought to you by Manscaped. Free shipping and 20% off with the A2D promo code. That's 20% off and free shipping. Time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life to Manscaped. Week 10 NFL action. We got a real barn burner here on Thursday night, Brad. Another barn burner between a division matchup between the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. The king of covers, Marcus Mariota. Falcons are in Carolina. They're 3-point favorites on the road. I'm not really interested in betting on this game. But I guess
if you bet it, then you have to. If you bet it, then you have to watch it. That could really be torturous.
I mean,
and the Ravens go 3-and-out, basically. Well, 4-and-out.
Well, the Falcons, they cover all the time. They covered again. They're right in the thick of this NFC South race, which isn't a good division at all. Because the Bucs, even though they won yesterday, I'm not really impressed with them.
What are the Bucs? 4-4 now?
I think they're 4-5. I'm not sure if they have their bye yet. No, they are 4-5 because they were 3-5. And that's one of the first times Brady's been 2 games under 500 in his career.
Yeah, you're right.
So they're 4-5 now. They get the win. But the Falcons, they can do this thing. They're kind of like the Giants, but they don't win as much. They're short on talent, but they find a way to compete. I mean, I'll lay the 3, I guess, against Carolina. Carolina fired a bunch of coaches today.
Yeah, well, Carolina's probably the worst team in the NFL right now.
P.J. Walker is going to be the starter. Temple tough. Certainly
they're not going to put him. I thought I heard that Baker was going to start next week.
Well, then I'm definitely taking the Falcons. No doubt about it. That guy is a disaster.
Yes, he is, but he's probably going to. I'm just saying he's going to start. I'm not saying that.
No, they said today P.J. Walker's starting at least on Thursday.
Okay.
Getting the Sunday slate. This game's in Munich, in Germany.
Which one?
Seahawks and Buccaneers. So neutral field, Tampa Bay, 2.5-point favorites over the Seahawks.
I love the Seahawks in this game.
How can you not? I mean, they're a far superior team than the Buccaneers.
Yeah, they're gonna. Yeah, I think the Seahawks are gonna win this game.
Take the 2.5.
I think they're better. I think they're better, and there's no home field advantage for either team. So, I think that they're the better. They're the better team, and I think they're going to win. And you know what? They've got a lot of momentum right now.
So that's pretty easy. We can put a gold star next to the Seahawks there. I love them.
Yeah,
I love the
that
Seahawks
would be
in this game.
would be a 10-star gold. That would be a 10-star gold prediction right there.
Chiefs. They're going to host the Jaguars. They're favored by 9.5 points over the Jaguars. Jaguars get a big win. Raiders just blow another double-digit lead to a not-so-great football team in Jacksonville.
That's 5.
I guess I'll lay the lumber with the Chiefs.
Yeah, that's not enough. That's not enough points for the Jaguars. They're gonna have trouble scoring.
Travis Etienne, maybe not. Travis Etienne has been excellent since the trade of James Robinson. He's really come into his own. Maybe the Jags can keep it closer. That's a lot of points. A lot of points there. I still lean Chiefs. So how about the Titans last night, though, Brad?
The Chiefs can score.
How about the Titans? The Titans got 0 receptions and 0 yards from their wide receiving core, and were able to.
Why did they make that trade with the Eagles?
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Because the guy that they drafted to replace AJ Brown, Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, he's been hurt the entire season. Robert Woods hasn't been. There's an interception by Andy Dalton. There's a flag on the play. We'll check on that.
Even if he was healthy, I mean, kind of a stupid trade is that? Here's an interception by the Ravens.
Rookie Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Flags all over the place. We'll see if it stands. Kyle Hamilton, he certainly looks like a player. But go Ravens.
Yeah, well, if the Ravens are going to win this game, they'll win it with their defense because they have a very good defense. Pass interference against. Nope, it's not going to count. It's pass interference against the Ravens.
Cheated. Chuck Clark, the guilty party, pass interference. So Saints will retain the football.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't understand why you trade AJ Brown and then you look around and none of your receivers can get open, catch a pass, gain any yards, and they still had a chance to win the football game.
Yeah, they did. They did. Kansas City, though,
I was gonna take the Titans plus 12.5 last night, but I pussied out.
Well, one thing about the Titans, they can run the ball and they play defense. But
they play defense. I mean, their quarterback, Malik Willis, who's filling in for an injured Ryan Tannehill, he had 80 yards passing.
It's not
in Arrowhead. And they had a chance to win. So that defense is fierce there in Tennessee. And Mike Vrabel's a terrific coach.
And to put in perspective how good Buffalo's offense can be at home, they beat that team 44-7 at the beginning of the season.
I remember. Brad, your Giants, they're going to host the Houston Texans. I love this game, too.
I think the Giants win the game.
Laying 6.5, the Giants are.
I think the Giants will. That's probably about right. I think the Giants never really blow anybody out, so I think you can look at that game and probably figure somewhere like, 24-10, something like that.
Really low.
24-13.
Really
It'll
low
be a
total.
low scoring game.
Over under's only 40.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a low scoring game.
Totals are in that 40 range. I tend to really like favorites. So I like the Giants a lot there too. Here's another game that I love. The Browns head into South Beach.
They're going to get the doors blown off.
The spread's only 4 in Miami. What's up with that?
4.
I mean, I get they had the running attack with Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and Brissett's been okay. Well, I think
Yeah,
the
but
Browns will
I don't
get
know that they're.
last Monday.
I don't know that their defense can stop Tua though.
The Dolphins are a lot to handle.
Yeah, they're really good.
With Hill and Waddle and Jeff Wilson came over from the Niners at the trade deadline.
Yeah, they're loaded now.
There it is. I just got the official notification.
They got Chubb, and then they extended him.
So yeah, I did just get the official notifications that the Phillies will not pick up the $17 million option on Gene Segura.
There you go. Well, we called that.
But I mean, that's hammer time for the Dolphins at home against the Browns.
Yeah, you would think so.
So the Dolphins are now 12-2 when Tua starts and doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, they're a very talented team.
And only got to lay 4. And the Browns, I mean, I think they're getting a lot of love from Vegas because they just blew out the Bengals out of nowhere last Monday.
Yeah, but then the Bengals woke up yesterday and crushed Carolina.
Yeah, the Bengals are on the outside of the playoff picture in the AFC right now.
Yeah,
but they're going to get in.
You would think so.
I would bet on that right now.
Well,
Chargers hold the 7th seed.
The AFC West has really disappointed this year.
Oh, the Raiders are terrible. The Chargers, it's always something. I mean, they squeak out a win yesterday in Atlanta. I mean, it's a good road win. Atlanta's not dreadful.
No, but again, they talent-wise, the Chargers are way better than 3 points better than the Falcons.
And Denver is just horrible. So this slate is really looking. It's looking like I'm throwing some money around in Week 10 from the average gambler that I am. Because here's another one: Tennessee at home against Denver. Tennessee's -3. I don't care who the quarterback is, whether it's Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill. Denver's not going to score 3 points. They stink.
No, and they will run the ball, right down Denver's throats.
And there's another total under 40. It's opening up at 39. So I love favorites there.
Yep.
That's my favorite one of the week. The Titans over the Broncos. Please and thank you. Here's a bottom feeder game. Lions headed to Chicago. Chicago's laying 2.5 at home. I love the Bears here.
I love the Bears in that game.
The Justin Fields can play, folks.
Yeah, he's going to kill Detroit.
Right? Because did he get picked with?
He got picked in the 10th. He was the number 10 pick last year.
I get that, but was that the Lawrence draft?
Yes.
So Lawrence went first.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody went second. And then
Lance, wasn't it?
I think he went third.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. He did
and then
go
Wilson
third.
And then Wilson went before him as well.
What about Mac Jones? Did he go before them too?
No, he was a teens.
Okay.
He was in the teens to the Patriots because they didn't trade for him and they made the playoffs, I think, the year before, so they didn't have a premium pick.
Gotcha.
But if Justin Fields plays like he's been playing,
yeah, and Detroit's defense is not good. So I kind of like the Bears. The Bears have been playing well, and they gave Miami all they can handle, and I consider Miami a premium team at this point in time.
Don 19, what are your all thoughts on Bryce Young with his size? Do you think he can survive?
I don't know.
Look, C.J. Stroud is a stud. He's the Ohio State quarterback. He's probably going to win the Heisman. He's 6'3", 220. He's big and strong and can throw. If you have the first pick in the draft or a top premium pick and you can get your hands on C.J. Stroud, if you need a quarterback, you should draft C.J. Stroud. Bryce Young, I don't know. He's a little small. He's a little undersized. He's super talented and quick and athletic, but he gets banged up sometimes at playing college. And it's only going to be more physical in the NFL. So I would be careful with Bryce Young, making him,
I don't know if he gets drafted
premium pick like that.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a top 10 draft. I mean, I look at him like kind of the same way I look at Kyler Murray. It's just like an injury waiting to happen with him too.
And Lamar, he's getting cooking. Is that Deshaun Jackson, number 15? Deshaun Jackson.
Yep.
Action Jackson. Boy, he's still really fast.
Yep.
He still runs great routes. One of the more underrated receivers of.
Yeah, no, he's an excellent receiver. His problem is he can never stay healthy.
He never stay healthy, and sometimes
he's a weirdo. But you know what he's one of those guys. If he has his head on straight and he can play, he'll be effective.
There's another hot stove notifications rolling in. Brad, your Yankees, Anthony Rizzo has opted out of his contract.
Well, that's no surprise. Everybody knew he's gonna. Yeah, they're gonna end up giving him $20 million a year for 3 years. That's what he's looking for. So I said, there's three guys. There's three guys that I want to see sign for the Yankees. All the other free agents can say goodbye. Rizzo, Judge, and they signed Severino already. So Rizzo, Judge, and Benintendi.
And Chapman won't be there.
Oh
no.
Chapman will be gone. Britton
he was that bad.
He was that bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He was terrible. Can't throw strikes. Listen, if you guys want to take a chance on him, I wish you luck.
Someone's gonna take a chance on him.
Oh yeah, but not for $17 million.
No. How old is he?
I think he's 33.
Not terribly old.
No, he still throws 100 miles an hour. The problem is he throws too many balls to the backstop.
Right.
He can't throw strikes.
I mean, if the price was right, I would take a chance on him in Philadelphia or anybody. Maybe he'll be back in New York at a reduced price. I don't know.
No, there's no way he's going to be back in New York. The Yankees sent him home because he refused to come to a workout unless he was promised a roster spot.
Right.
And think about it, how bad he was that they wouldn't even put him on the roster for the playoffs. Yeah,
that's not a good look.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees want to win. They're not gonna hold grudges. They want to win. They didn't put him on the roster because he can't throw strikes. And this has been going on for 2 years now. But this year it really there were so many games. He came in, Robin, he walked the bases loaded, and Boone would have to go get him.
Getting back to early leans, this is probably the worst early leans. We're not going to spend too much time on it. The Colts are traveling to Las Vegas.
Oh, that's going to be an ugly game. I bet Las Vegas finds a way to beat them, though.
The Raiders are favored by 6.5.
The Raiders are favored by 6.5?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I have to take the Colts then.
I'm not taking anybody in this game. I said I like the slate. Now I might be throwing some money around in Week 10. It won't be on that game.
No.
I would lean Colts. This is early lean, so I am going to give a lean to the Colts. Sometimes when a coach gets fired, that first game out, they're a little bit of a spark. Players have a fire under their ass to impress the new staff.
Right.
And, obviously probably some of them guys will be playing for jobs on other teams next year. Lamar's throwing the ball really well on this drive on Monday Night Football. Wish he would throw to Devin Duvernay. Let's get Devin Duvernay in the mix, please. Getting into more of the 4 o'clock games next week. Dallas travels to Green Bay. Green Bay, a 5-point home dog.
That won't be enough.
I love the Cowboys here.
If Aaron Rodgers can't score against Detroit, what the hell is going to happen when he has to face
And
Dallas?
The Cowboys are going to be rested. They're off a bye.
Yeah, they're going to smoke them.
It shouldn't be. They're so bad. And now they're all injured. So there's another game that I love this weekend. Cardinals visiting the Rams. Rams are laying 3. It's another ho-hum game. Nothing really exciting.
I would take the Rams.
I would too.
I mean, I think the Rams are due. The Rams are really due to win a game.
Getting into the prime time, little interesting battle here on Sunday Night Football next week. Chargers heading to San Francisco.
That is going to be a good game.
On paper, it's a big time matchup. But the Chargers, they're an accident waiting to happen. There's certain franchises in sports that are just accident waiting to happen. The Mets, the Phillies, not the Phillies, the Mets, the Cowboys, the Sixers.
Nice pass by
the
Chargers. Is that Duvernay that just got the touchdown?
No, it's Isaiah Likely to fill in tight end.
He
gets a 24-yard touchdown. The Ravens go up on the Saints 6-0. So there's that. And then next Monday night, we have the Eagles and Commanders. Eagles, a whopping 11-point favorite against the Commanders.
That's not enough to take the Commanders. Eagles are going to.
You don't think?
No, the Eagles are going to.
It's a lie.
They're going to beat them silly.
You're probably right, but like Heineke's scrappy, and it's a division game. The Eagles are coming on. They're going to have 10 days of rest because they played on Thursday. So I would lean Eagles, but I try and shy away from.
Listen, the way the Eagles are playing right now, with the way their defense is playing, they're going to eat up Heineke. And even if the Eagles offense has a bad night, what's a bad night for the Eagles? 20, 21, 24 points? There's no way the Commanders are scoring that many points against the Eagles. I mean, they'll be lucky. They'd be lucky to put up 10.
The Eagles are a menace on offense. First off, they have a great offensive line. We all say the football starts up front. The Eagles have a terrific offensive line.
The key to the Eagles is that their trenches are so damn good on both sides of the ball. I mean, they knock everybody out in the front end with the offensive line, and the defensive line is just as good. I mean, they're.
And then, by the way, they added Robert Quinn just before the trade deadline.
Yeah, it's like an embarrassment of riches right now with that team.
And then Jalen Hurts, I mean, him and Mahomes have kind of stepped to, especially if Allen's hurt for any extended period of time.
They stepped to the front of the pack as far as the MVP
Hurts
voting.
And Mahomes have stepped to the front of the line in this MVP race. Look, Jalen Hurts has improved greatly. He's improved greatly. He's a multiple read quarterback now. He can throw the ball down the field. They're not boxed into running the ball a bunch of times like they were a year ago. So, I mean.
But you still don't want him throwing the ball 40 times.
No, I don't think that's a recipe for success for any team in the NFL, really. You got to have balance.
No, that depends. If it's the Chiefs or the Bills when Allen is playing, then you want them to throw 40 times a game at least. But for every other team in the league, you probably don't really want to do that.
Don19 chiming in with some college football comments here. Get into that college football playoff. We can kiss Clemson and Alabama playoffs goodbye. I would agree. Clemson with a horrendous loss to Notre Dame over the weekend. A one-loss ACC team with a loss to a bad Notre Dame team. That's what they are. They're a bad team this year. I'm a Notre Dame fan, and they're just not good this year. See you later, Clemson. And Alabama, that's their second loss of the year. College Football Playoff Committee has been pretty consistent in giving one-loss teams and undefeated teams the nod over two-loss teams. Obviously, Alabama lost to Tennessee, and then they fall to LSU.
Yeah. They're not. There's no way.
So we're gonna get some new blood. Georgia's ridiculous.
Georgia is so good. My question to you is, with Stetson Bennett, do you think he's a pro quarterback at some point?
I don't know.
Sometimes he looks like he is. Sometimes he looks like he is. Then other times,
but like guys like that, like remember when Alabama had Greg McElroy?
Yes. Oh, Greg McElroy in college was great.
But, like, he had Julio Jones and Derrick Henry and Ingram and, like, all these guys. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, how could you not be good? And Greg McElroy, he did play in the pros. I think he started a couple games and was a backup for a while. With the Jets, yes.
It just never worked out for him.
So, like.
But I will say this for Bennett. He's got a strong arm.
And he can run. So, maybe he's like a diamond in the rough, one of these later round QBs that a team can grab and develop a little bit. And
he's a junior, isn't he?
I'd have to look that up.
I think he's a. I know
if you remember, if you follow college football closely, not that I do, but I did follow this. Like Justin Fields was the Gatorade National Player of the Year, who we've talked up on this show for, basically the whole 2 hours. So
yes,
they had Fields and Bennett, and they went with Bennett over Fields because they didn't want to start a freshman in the SEC. So Fields took his transferred up to Ohio State, and the rest was history. So, Stetson Bennett's super talented. The fact that Georgia went with him over Justin Fields, I think speaks volumes about his talent. But Georgia is ridiculous. Them and Ohio State seem to be on a collision course for the national championship game, and that'd be a really fun matchup if that were to come to fruition.
I think Tennessee is going to be in trouble as far as trying to make the playoffs, because if they have to play the championship game again against Georgia, well, no, are they in the same division?
Because they're both in the East, so they're not. Unless Georgia stumbles to teams they're really, really, really not supposed to lose to. So Georgia, basically, it's a 2-game lead for Georgia to get to Atlanta in the SEC championship game, because if they lose once, that's fine. They have the tiebreaker over Tennessee, so they have to lose twice for Tennessee to have a chance.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
That's not gonna happen. The West is wide open.
Does Tennessee have a chance to at least make the playoffs?
They do. They absolutely do. Look, are you going to take, and then kind of LSU is the stick in the mud here, because they're going to be a 2-loss team if they win out, but they lost to Florida State and they got waxed by Tennessee at home. So even if LSU makes the SEC championship game and wins the West, which they probably are because they beat Ole Miss and they beat Alabama, so they have tiebreakers over their 2 biggest competitors. So it's probably going to be LSU, Georgia in the SEC championship game.
They'll get waxed by Georgia, though.
But if they beat Georgia and they have 2 losses, what does the committee do? Could you have 3 SEC teams in this? Because, look, it's a resume, it's a resume thing, and TCU's undefeated. But all due respect to the Big 12, that's not anywhere near the football that gets played in the SEC. And USC has 1 loss out there on the West Coast in the Pac-12. They lost to Utah. They already have a loss.
What about Michigan? And if Michigan can somehow
Michigan
beat Ohio
is undefeated.
State,
so
if Michigan somehow beats Ohio State, they would have a shot too.
So it's going to be 6 teams for 4 spots. Georgia and Ohio State, and then Don 19. He's obviously a big Michigan guy. Out there in Detroit, he can't wait for Detroit or Michigan and Ohio State. So the winner of that's going to go to the Big 10 championship game and beat whatever scrub team comes out of the Big 10 West.
From what I've seen, I think Ohio State's a little better. I
think you're right, and Michigan beat them last year, so Ohio State's really going to be ready for that one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but and I'm going by how they played against Rutgers, of course, because those are the games I watch, and Rutgers just got smoked by Ohio State. Michigan, they gave Michigan one heck of a battle for a half.
Yeah, and they lost 52-17.
Yeah, they got killed in the second half, but they gave them a good fight in the first half.
So basically, you're kind of going to have 6 teams here, 7 if you want to put LSU in the mix. Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia, Tennessee, TCU, USC, and LSU. I guess you can throw Ole Miss in there too.
You can,
because their only losses to LSU.
USC always finds a way to have a bad loss. That's always been.
It wasn't really. They lost at Utah, who's ranked 14th.
Yeah.
But they're going to have to play Notre Dame still. They're going to play a Pac-12 championship game, probably against Oregon. Oregon has 1 loss. They lost like 47-3 in the opener to Georgia. I believe
they're not going to get. They're not going to get in. Not when you get beat that badly. There's no way.
So, is a 1-loss Tennessee out of the SEC going to get in over a TCU team that's undefeated out of the Pac-12?
Yeah, but the Pac-12 is
or the Big 10, TCU in the Big 12. Sorry,
Yeah, the big.
that's going to be interesting.
I know what you
Look,
meant.
I've watched Tennessee play a couple times, and they have a great
Tennessee is
quarterback, an explosive offense, and they're well coached. Like, if it's about getting the 4 best teams, like, I don't care that TCU won an inferior conference champion and didn't have a loss. I think Tennessee should get that spot.
Well, if you know what, a couple of years. When was it the year that Cincinnati got in there and they were not?
That was last year.
Yeah,
Remember that was a little different, Brad, because 4th was Cincinnati, 5th was Notre Dame, and Cincinnati beat Notre Dame in South Bend in the regular season. So that kind of made it easy for them.
Okay, got you. I just, you know what, Cincinnati to me last year. I mean, they were good, but you know,
They played Bama. They played Bama and got waxed.
Yeah, and I think they would have gotten waxed against.
Is there any good college game? Let's throw college games.
Any good SEC team last year would have beat them, though. I mean, that's just my opinion.
See what the slate is in college football next week. See if there's any playoff defining. USC is going to play Colorado. Colorado stinks out loud.
Yeah, they're terrible.
USC is favored by 34. LSU and Arkansas. Arkansas is a good, solid team. They could give LSU trouble. That's not a guaranteed win for LSU, but LSU already has 2 losses. Tennessee is going to play Missouri. They should not have a problem there.
Yeah, that should be pretty easy.
Kentucky's not in it. Pittsburgh's not in it. Ohio State plays Indiana. They're favored by 40.
Indiana stinks.
So yeah, not much cooking on the college football playoff front. Ole Miss hosts Alabama. Obviously, if Alabama wants to get the SEC title game and give them a puncher's chance to get into this playoff, they're gonna have to beat Ole Miss.
I have a feeling
I love Lane Kiffin. He's really found. It took him a while to figure it out as a head coach, but he's really found a home there in Ole Miss.
It's gonna be tough, though. I mean,
Michigan, Nebraska, Clemson, Louisville, they should not have a problem there. Yeah, so not much cooking in college football next week in terms of competitive playoff defining games. Georgia's heading to Mississippi State. That's going to be a night game. Mississippi State, I mean, I don't know how closely you follow them. They're fans. They got them cowbells that they ring, and it's going to be a night game.
Oh, they'll be good
and number
annoying.
1, so Georgia better not. Don't overlook them after the big win against Tennessee, but they should be fine.
I would think so.
And Oregon plays Washington.
That's never an easy win. That's never an easy game. Washington's always
and then this is TCU plays Texas next week. Texas is favored by 7 at home over an undefeated TCU team. That kind of tells me everything I need to know if I'm just reading the line. Texas favored by 7 over an undefeated team? Like, that's a stone Texas line. Is it going to work out like that? I don't know.
Is Texas ranked?
They're at, like, the tail end of the top 25. They have 3 losses.
Okay. Yeah, because I thought that they were ranked at the beginning of the season. Because
they lost. They were. They lost to Bama because their quarterback got hurt. And they almost beat Bama, really. That was first or second game of the season. I'm not sure who else they've lost to. I'd have to look it up. But favored by 7. They are at home. It's a night game, so tell you what, if you want Tennessee in the playoff or you want USC in the playoff or you're Oregon or LSU or Ole Miss, you got to get TCU out of there. They got to pick up a loss because if they lose one game in the Big 12, they're going to be out of contention for the playoff. That's just not it. If you're not undefeated out of the Big 12, you're just not. You're not going to get in.
Who was it? Do you remember Boise State when they went undefeated?
Right, that was pre-playoff though. I think.
Okay, gotcha.
That was a while ago.
But they were ranked like 13 or something like that. They weren't even in the top 10 when they went undefeated. As I remember,
they had a good team. They beat Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl or Fiesta Bowl or whatever it was.
Yeah,
and they did all those trick plays at the end to win.
Oklahoma. Speaking of Oklahoma, how bad have they been, and how bad has Oklahoma State been?
I mean, they're just typical Big 12 teams. I mean, Oklahoma just rode that Lincoln Riley wagon to death.
Yeah, and they're done.
He got all the good recruits from Southern California to somehow go to Oklahoma, and he utilized the transfer portal to always have himself a Heisman winning quarterback, Heisman contending quarterback. Baker, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, who's now at USC with them. So now they have Will Venables, and it's just not the same.
No.
Wow, is Lamar going to pick this up and do something? What a freak! To even get a ball off that. Did you see that play?
Yeah.
Sounds like you're a little behind me on the broadcast.
I am. Oh, he almost caught that ball at the 2-yard line.
He just launched it like 60 yards.
Yeah.
Fumbled the snap,
On
ran
the run.
around, launched it 60 yards. He's a freak. How he didn't get sacked. It's incredible he didn't get sacked. His lineman knocks it out of his hands. He runs. He takes the edge. And then tries to launch one to Deshaun Jackson. If Deshaun Jackson was 6'3", I think he catches that ball.
Yeah, and it was a pretty accurate pass, too. I mean, it was right on the money, and he was running full speed to the sideline. It even looked like he was running backwards a little bit.
7-0 Ravens, 11:46 to go. In the first half.
The Saints' problem is going to be scoring against the Ravens. The Ravens defense is always going to give everybody trouble because they're tough to run against. So that's going to be a problem.
MBDBF. Checking us out on YouTube. Thanks for chiming in. Does the left side of the Phillies infield belong on the right side? Stott is second, Bowman first. No, Bowman's my third baseman. Stott could find a home at second. Maybe that'll help him offensively, too. As he puts together, Stott, he just strikes me as like a pest. Like 2-hole second baseman. Like he's going to choke up. He's going to have a 2-strike approach at all times and slap the ball around, not play against lefties. Like if I can get one of them premier shortstops we talked about, and
there are a lot of them on the market.
Bump Stott over to second base, I think that's extremely feasible.
If you ask me, out of all the shortstops, if I had my choice of any one of them, it would be Correa.
Is that what they did, Don? They started Jake Fromm over Fields. So they picked Fromm over Fields, and Fields went to Ohio State. That sounds right.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Fromm.
I forgot Oregon. I mentioned Oregon, but look, I mean, my pick it it's going to be interesting. Well, first off, Tennessee and all these one-loss teams need to take care of their business and remain at one loss. They play the games for a reason. Anything can happen. But it'll be interesting if they put a 1-loss Tennessee team that didn't make their conference championship in over a conference champion like Oregon or USC. And I think all these one-loss teams, I think Clemson's the worst one. Clemson's out. So now we went into the weekend thinking there was only one spot available for one of these teams. Now there might be 2. Who knows? There might be 3 at the end of next weekend. You never know. It's going to be really fun when they expand next year to 12 teams.
Oh yeah,
because
that'll bring a lot more drama into it.
I think that once there's a 12-team playoff and we get to the Final Four and it's the 4 best teams in the SEC, I think then it's going to finally sink in to everyone about how good the SEC is.
Oh, I think most people know, Rob.
But I think it's going to.
I think most people realize that. I mean, if you watch the NFL draft, you can see how good they are because they're all getting picked.
But I think it's going to be glaring once the 12-team playoff gets implemented next year.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports Hounds. Thank you to all our great sponsors. Thank you to you, the fans. 100,000 followers on Facebook. Couldn't do it without you. We do it for you. Certainly can't do it without you. Huge shout out again. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. Next Monday Night Football action, Eagles Commanders. Probably have wall-to-wall coverage, safe to say, here on A2D Radio for these primetime games like we usually do. Until then, peace out, everybody.